Hi, and welcome to Living My Faith, where we spotlight those individuals to show us how they're really living for the kingdom. I'm your host, James Fenimore, and today we've got a really special guest for you. Joining me is Mr. Ed Cook. Ed, how you doing?
I am fantastic. Living the dream today, James. How you doing, sir?
That's the kind of answer I want to hear when we start this show. Thank you so much, Ed. I'm doing great. Thank you. So, Ed, we start this show with one simple question. How are you living your faith?
Well, for me, faith is really just an everyday walk. When we think about faith, we think about making decisions without knowing the outcomes. That's how I kind of think about it a lot of times, because ultimately we're people who like to, hey, if I do things one way, I am definitely going to get an expected outcome. And really, when I live by faith, I simply have to live by what God says every day, and not leaning towards these outcomes. Like one of my favorite scriptures is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Is trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not to our own understanding. And for me, walking in ministry, that was a faith walk, a faith journey, a faith jump just to be Pastor Ed, full-time Pastor Ed, because, just a real short, my story, when I started this church Revive, it was back in September 2023. In May of 2023, God said, I want you to quit your job and do this full time and be all in doing ministry. And it was a huge jump because to do that, I was going to have to take a six-figure pay cut to do that. And I walked away from a job making well more than six figures to take a six-figure pay cut. And so every day is a faith walk, every day. And I can tell you, just taking that jump, as soon as I opened that door, as soon as I did exactly what God said, there were finances that started coming in that were unexpected. There were people who started volunteering their time, talents to help us get the ministry started in 2023. It was one of those things that when I took the first move to obey what God said, He took all the next steps. All the fear that I had, all the doubt that I had, all the, hey, how are we going to pay for health insurance? Hey, is my kids going to eat? How am I going to pay my mortgage? All of that stuff. And I can tell you, just in this journey, my kids haven't missed a meal. We haven't missed a mortgage payment. We've even gone on a few trips, even after taking a six-figure pay cut. And so for me, just doing what God said, serving His people, and not worrying about money, not worrying about finances, not worrying about anything, and really just trusting Him all the way through is really my faith walk, my testimony, my story on just how faithful and good God is.
It's interesting. You used two words, and I think they're such important words, and it was obey and trust. And they're not mutually exclusive sometimes. Sometimes you got to just, you know what, I don't know if I trust God yet, but I know I have to obey Him, and maybe the trust will follow. Or I trust Him completely, but I'm not going to obey Him because what I want is bigger than what God. So it's interesting to have two words that seem like they're so intertwined, but you could still have one without the other. And in your situation, you leaned in and did both, right? You trusted He will provide for you while you obeyed, and look at the fruit it delivered.
Yeah, it's been great from a fruit standpoint to see the lives. I had someone recently tell me, Pastor, thank you for your yes. That meant the world to me, to say thank you for your yes, because my life would not have changed. Oh, my life would be different if you hadn't have said yes. And so, like you said, we think trust and obedience is independent, but really, I trust you, but do I trust you enough to obey? Do I trust you enough to take that step on something that I don't understand, something that I cannot predict the outcome, something that, because we all want to know that the choice I make is going to bring me a particular outcome. And I didn't know the outcome. I didn't even know how many people are going to come to our church, if we could even afford to have me on staff full time. And yet, months before we ever opened our doors, he said, I need you to walk away. That was in May, and we didn't open until September. And so he wanted me to walk away and do what he called me to do.
Wow. I love how you brought up the yes, because I just recently got back from the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce National Convention. It was called the SWC,
Mm,
and their whole theme was yes and. Tell us about your yes, and what are you
yeah.
doing with it? Now tell us what you're doing with your yes. How are you living out your ministry and your work? What are you doing with your tithes and offerings, your time, talent, treasure, and for people new in the faith, I know we're running up on time here, but we have a pastor on, and it would be remiss for me not to ask for some counsel for some of our people newer in faith, or maybe they stepped away from God for a while and they're back after decades because of church hurt or whatever might have happened, and they're learning just how to live out their faith every single day. What kind of tip can you give them to just help them on that journey?
So if I can pour into anyone anything, it's Second Corinthians. In Second Corinthians, it says this: "For we walk by faith and not by sight." We have to understand this. The greatest enemy of your faith is not fear. The greatest enemy of your faith is not unbelief. The greatest enemy of your faith is not even what's happened to you. The greatest enemy of your faith is what you see or what you don't see. And what I see or don't see causes fear. What I see or don't see causes unbelief. And so if I want to encourage you in any way, trust God in everything that you do. He has the big plan. We have the now plan. And his big plan will supersede our now plan at all time. And just trust him. Trust it's going to be all right in the end, even if you can't see it right now.
I love that. Thank you so much, Pastor Ed, for our audience, and for being Pastor Ed and being obedient and taking your yes into the real world. It's been a real treat having you here. I want you to know all your information is going to be right below this video. So if people want to reach out to you, you have a podcast. All that information will be below here too. So if people want to check out your podcast, they can find it right below here. And please do. But Ed, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, James. I appreciate it.
Yeah, God bless. So on behalf of Pastor Ed, I'm James Fenimore. This has been Living My Faith. We can't wait to see you next time.